I said that because Kingsman was being a loser. You just criticized and demoralized my teammate for an hour, repeatedly ignoring our mentions to stop. Like, that's loser behavior.
Understand?
No, it's
Well,
not.
you've been making
Get
me feel like
him!
of course I'm gonna
How
play.
do you not
Wait,
see the problem right now?
Wait, first of all,
It's that ass Kingsman, like, shut the fuck up.
Okay,
First of
bro.
You're doing too much.
BCce's not even on Invis. Second of all, you're getting value because four
No,
of them are
no,
on our
no, no,
background.
no. She shouldn't be
Yes,
dead.
yes.
I'm
You're
getting
only
value
able
because
to
I'm
rebuild them because
1v6ing.
both in for you, bro. Yes, Zaza is 0-5, but we won the point, bro.
I would have been kicked out the day of then. I would have told that fucking Buster to uninstall the video game. 050, my game is crazy. Chat, do you know that the KP rate for kills in this game is like 90%? Like, if you're part of the game in any capacity and somebody dies on the enemy team, 90% of the time you're gonna get either a kill or an assist off of them. 100%. It's like 90%. Everybody's part of every kill, which means if you're 050 and your DPS is 18 kills, you haven't logged into the game. You're AFK, your computer's not on.
You ever meet someone who smiles in your face, acts cool, then switches up the moment the door shuts behind them? That's exactly what Kingsman just put on display about Cece, and this time he came prepared. No talking in circles, no vague claims. He brought straight proof. Screenshots, full Discord logs, timestamps, and private DMs that lined everything up clean. That evidence flipped the entire narrative. What started as a heated Marvel Rivals tournament argument slowly unraveled into a full credibility breakdown right in front of everyone watching. Things escalated quick. Cece tried to reshape the story early on, but the more she talked, the more the details stopped lining up. Contradictions kept stacking until there was nowhere left to pivot. Once Kingsman released the files, the reaction online was instant. People weren't speculating anymore. The general mood shifted to, we've seen enough, and the consequences followed right behind it. Sponsors didn't make noise at first. They quietly stepped back, then one by one made it official. In less than 48 hours, multiple brand deals disappeared like they were never signed in the first place. There was no room for rumors or guesswork. Everything was right there in black and white for anyone who missed how this situation actually started. Kingsman was removed from a $40,000 Marvel Rivals tournament after being labeled toxic. That label spread fast, but he wasn't willing to let it stick. He responded by dropping clips and messages to show exactly what was said. Those receipts showed no insults, no personal attacks. He was telling teammates to focus up and take the match seriously. That's it. Competitive talk, nothing reckless. After that, Cece and a few others released public statements, and that's when the tension really built. Apologies followed. People talked about accountability. Most viewers assumed it was over, but behind the calm posts, something else was going on. While Cece was publicly presenting herself as misunderstood, she was messaging Kingsman privately with a completely different tone, and those DMs told a very different story. On the surface, she sounded supportive, calm, almost friendly. That two-faced energy is where everything really started falling apart. One tone in public, another behind closed doors. Kingsman reached a breaking point. No more protecting anyone's image, no more staying quiet to keep the peace. He released the full document publicly, and once it went live, the situation unraveled fast. The document opened with Discord screenshots that immediately shifted how people saw the entire situation. The logs didn't feel random. They felt deliberate. According to Kingsman, someone he believes was Cece, based on writing patterns and previous conversations, was allegedly messaging Z's boyfriend, Capital. The messages suggested using an alternate account to secretly record and clip content without revealing who was actually behind it. That detail alone made a lot of people pause. This stopped looking like messy drama and started looking calculated. As readers kept going, the tone of the messages got heavier. One line jumped out and locked the timeline in place. Download clips if there's anything that can help us get him kicked off the team. That quote changed everything. It forced people to reevaluate the entire narrative Cece had been pushing. This clearly wasn't about one bad game or a misunderstanding in the heat of competition. It pointed toward planning. The screenshots showed people discussing collecting clips, not to resolve issues or improve teamwork, but to build a case against Kingsman. This wasn't about unity, it was about removing him. Then came another message that rubbed viewers the wrong way. Kingsman, like everybody else, is replaceable. That line hit hard, especially considering he was one of the strongest performers on the roster, often carrying matches when things started slipping. Calling a top player disposable while still benefiting from his skill didn't sit right with people. On top of that, they accused him of only playing for money, like that was some moral failure. But this was a $40,000 tournament. Everyone there wanted to win. That's literally the whole point of competing. Wanting to win isn't greed, it's motivation. Kingsman even explained that the money mattered because he needed it for school expenses. He was upfront about his situation. No spin, no excuses. That detail made everything feel heavier once people really sat with it. When the public saw Cece insisting she had nothing to do with him getting removed, the private messages told a very different story. The screenshots didn't leave much room for interpretation. Someone connected to Cece's circle was clearly trying to justify what happened after the fact. Instead of shutting it down publicly, Cece stayed distant on the timeline while remaining involved behind the scenes. That contrast became impossible to ignore once Kingsman dropped his first video explaining his side. Almost immediately after it went live, Cece slid into his DMs. That's when people noticed how different her private tone was compared to her public posts. There was no softness, no apology. It came off demanding. She didn't ask for help. She told him to handle the so-called NPCs in her Discord and across social media. Complete switch up. Kingsman kept it cool. He responded that he'd already told his community multiple times not to harass anyone. He even offered to personally ban people if she sent over the Twitch usernames. That's a fair response. Calm, respectful, trying to de-escalate.
A drama farmer, but then I saw everyone drama farming on Marvel Rivals, and I was like, let me make some money too, bro. Let me get some viewership too. Loki, this is my chance. I was always thinking, you know, when people like get canceled and then they pop off on views, well, they stay relevant by getting in drama. Like, let me farm for once in my freaking 6 years of content.
I think I said that because Kingsman was being a loser. I don't think Kingsman's a loser. I think he's a good player who just wants to win.
But Cece's next message is where things really collapsed. She said people were blaming her for getting him banned, then added the line that made everyone stop scrolling. All I said was, I agree with buying. He was going to boot you anyway, no matter what I did. That statement didn't help her case at all. If someone is getting removed no matter what, agreeing with it doesn't make you neutral. It puts you in the decision. That moment turned into one of the biggest red flags in the entire situation. She had chances to say she disagreed or tried to stop it. She didn't. Instead of denying it, she basically admitted she co-signed the decision, then got upset once people connected the dots after the screenshots dropped. As soon as those receipts hit the timeline, fans started calling out the inconsistencies. That's when everything shifted again. The tone changed, the mood changed, the whole energy of her messages flipped. Suddenly, it stopped being about the facts. It turned into guilt pressure. Cece messaged Kingsman saying she wished he had asked for clarification before posting that godforsaken video. Right after that, she said she was dealing with panic attacks and mass banning people across her platforms. The confidence she had earlier was gone, replaced with emotionally loaded language that kept escalating. She went on to say that if he truly cared, he would delete the video or make another post clearing things up. That moment changed how a lot of people viewed her. Instead of addressing what the screenshots actually showed, she leaned heavily into emotion. Then came the most controversial move, bringing mental health into the conversation, not as background context, but as a shield. The wording didn't feel like transparency. It felt like pressure. The implication was hard to miss. If Kingsman didn't take the video down, he was being framed as responsible for her distress. That didn't sit right with many viewers watching this play out in real time. Let's be real for a moment. Anxiety and panic attacks are serious and deserve compassion. Nobody questioned that. But they don't erase actions, and they don't justify trying to silence someone who is simply sharing their experience. That's where the situation started to feel calculated to people. What made it worse was the contradiction inside the same messages. While mentioning panic attacks, Cece was also being sharp, defensive, and demanding. That clash made the mental health angle feel less like honesty and more like damage control. People picked up on it almost immediately. To a lot of viewers, it felt like emotional leverage instead of real accountability. Kingsman didn't back down. He told her clearly that the VOD was staying up. Nothing was taken out of context, and he wasn't deleting evidence just to make the situation more comfortable for anyone else. That response set a firm boundary. It showed he was done being pressured behind the scenes, and that's when Cece pushed back harder. She accused him of throwing her under the bus for clout, saying he was only chasing views. Then she doubled down, claiming his own behavior is what got him removed, and that he just couldn't accept reality. That exchange took things from messy to outright chaos. By that point, most people watching could tell this was no longer about a tournament disagreement. The situation had layers. Then Cece escalated it further. She accused Kingsman of harassing Zar over a long period of time, and said that behavior caused her distress. She claimed that even after being asked to stop, the harassment allegedly continued and somehow came back on to her. That accusation became another major flashpoint. Viewers immediately went back through the clips to see what actually happened. People wanted receipts, not statements. What they found told a completely different story. The so-called harassment was Kingsman asking a teammate to switch characters during a high-pressure competitive match. No insults, no name-calling, no personal attacks, just standard in-game communication that happens in esports teams trying to win. The irony didn't go unnoticed. After Kingsman was removed, the team's performance dropped fast. Losses started piling up. Fans slowly realized the player labeled as the problem may have been the one holding everything together. That realization flipped the narrative on its head, but the story didn't stop there. If asking a teammate to swap off Black Widow for better team balance counts as harassment, then competitive gaming wouldn't survive. Every serious player communicates like that. Strategy isn't bullying. Shot calling isn't abuse. It's how organized teams operate, especially when real money is involved and the stakes are high in a $40,000 tournament. That kind of communication isn't toxic, it's necessary. What really made people pause was when Cece claimed she was now dealing with harassment 10 times worse than anything Kingsman experienced. That comparison didn't land well. Kingsman lost his spot in a major tournament, got labeled toxic in front of thousands, and watched his reputation get dragged online. In esports, reputation is everything. Once a label sticks, it's hard to shake. Cece, on the other hand, was facing backlash because of her own leaked messages she wrote and sent herself. Those two situations are not the same. By this point, people weren't buying the narrative that she was simply being attacked. It started to look like frustration over losing control of the story. As fans connected more dots, the energy shifted again. After the DMs dropped, after the pressure mounted, and after attempts to get Kingsman's video removed,
Discord and saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna lose, and these guys, my team sucks. And then he was talking about like how some other tournament he's in was like way better. And I think Basman was just not taking that disrespect. And low-key, like, I didn't want that disrespect either. Like, I didn't want someone on the team that was just constantly gonna like
Video in response to Kingsman's video, and also to all the chatters that are going to come in and ask questions again. I'm just going to direct you to this.
Yeah.
And it's the last I'm going to speak about.
We're not going to watch this the whole time. I don't want to listen to this for 15 minutes. Don't. It's because they're being hostile and aggressive, and the moment that somebody responds that way, they claim that it's misogyny. You're using your identity as both a sword and a
Cece went public with a statement. She said she was in the middle of class when everything blew up online and claimed she wanted to set the record straight. She denied that the DMs involving Kaplan were hers. Then in the same breath, she admitted she had flamed Kingsman during the situation. She said she'd been trying to apologize ever since that night. By that point, most people weren't convinced. The statement didn't come across as clarity. It sounded like a last attempt to reshape the narrative before it fully slipped out of reach. The problem for Cece was pretty simple. The internet doesn't just accept statements at face value anymore. People verify everything fast. Community notes stepped in, and online detectives immediately got to work. They examined every Discord screenshot, profile photo, badge, user ID, and timestamp. Tiny details that are almost impossible to fake when viewed together. Once those pieces were lined up, Cece's denial didn't match the evidence at all. The proof was overwhelming. The story didn't slowly fall apart. It collapsed in real time while people watched it happen. After that, she tried to play the let's move on card. She said she was done with the drama and asked people to stop talking about it, framing the continued discussion as bullying. But accountability doesn't work that way. You can't make accusations, deny involvement, get caught with receipts, and then suddenly declare the conversation finished just because it's uncomfortable. The internet doesn't forget that easily, especially not when everything is documented. While all of this was unfolding, sponsors were paying close attention. They didn't hesitate. Within roughly 48 hours, the consequences started rolling in. Solaris Gaming released an official statement saying they had been made aware of the situation and were removing Cece from both the Solaris roster and their creator program. Not long after that, Infinity Mice followed up with their own announcement. They said they do not support behavior that targets or disrespects other creators. That moment marked a clear shift. This was no longer just online backlash. These were real partnerships disappearing in real time, and her public image took a major hit almost overnight. Each brand that pulled out ended their statement the same way. The partnership would not be continuing. When companies act that fast, it's not about people being overly sensitive. It's about risk. Brands only cut ties when staying involved becomes more damaging than walking away completely. And that's exactly what played out. By that point, the internet had spoken, the evidence landed heavy, and the fallout was impossible to ignore. The optics were rough. There was no way to spin it anymore. But just when people thought the situation had hit rock bottom for Cece, the internet resurfaced an old clip, and it changed the conversation again. In that video, she openly talks about how drama and cancellations drive engagement. She explains how controversy keeps names trending and keeps people watching. She breaks it down plainly, almost like a playbook. The timing could not have been worse. Viewers immediately connected that clip to everything that had just happened. Suddenly, the entire situation started to look calculated, like she understood exactly how outrage cycles work and believed she could control the outcome for attention.
Do it at wrong times, I do admit. But in regards to me telling him to shut the f up, that is the only thing I think I am 100% justified in, because Zaza said, you're making me feel like
Weird how women manage to ruin everything competitive in the scene game. I think this does have to do with the fact that they're women. To him, she was degrading him, calling him a loser. But now whenever they face accountability, now they're the victim. Nope. Oh, no.
That's just what happens.
That's such a good point. You're so right about that.
For a lot of people, that clip didn't sound like casual commentary. It sounded like awareness, almost like an admission. Viewers felt she wasn't just explaining the system, she was showing she knew how to use it. And if that meant stirring controversy to stay relevant, she seemed ready to play that game. The problem is, it backfired hard. Yes, she got attention, but not the kind that builds a career. Instead of growth, she got scrutiny. Instead of sympathy, she got old receipts resurfacing. And instead of staying relevant in a positive way, she became a cautionary example people point to when talking about self-inflicted collapse. What started as a PR mess turned into a full reputation breakdown. At the same time, Lucy, the teammate who told Kingsman to shut up mid-match, chose to double down instead of stepping back. She claimed her behavior was completely justified and made it clear she wasn't taking anything back. That stance didn't calm anything down. It only made the team drama look messier and kept the controversy alive longer than anyone expected. Lucy's stance only added more tension, and then the situation took another sharp turn. DMs between Lucy and Kingsman surfaced. In those messages, she tried to apologize, but still managed to shift part of the blame back onto him. It came off like a half apology. No real ownership, no clear responsibility. Just enough regret to soften the image without actually admitting to wrongdoing. Viewers picked up on that immediately, and the backlash didn't slow down. If anything, it intensified. Then attention shifted to Zar and her boyfriend, Kaplan. As soon as the controversy exploded, both of them locked down their Twitter accounts not long after. That move alone raised eyebrows. Zar later posted a long statement saying she had no idea about the Google document Kaplan had created. She claimed she wasn't involved and didn't even know what was being written. That explanation didn't hold for long. Stream footage resurfaced that directly contradicted her statement. In that clip, Zar is clearly talking about Kaplan working on a document and gathering evidence. Once people saw that, it became difficult to take her denial at face value. The situation started to look staged to a lot of viewers, like another attempt to rewrite what already happened. When that proof came back into circulation, people began noticing a pattern forming, the same cycle repeating itself. One version of events presented publicly, and a completely different version exposed through leaked messages and old clips. By that point, trust was gone. And when trust disappears online, it rarely comes back. Looking at the full picture, the core issue became obvious. None of the stories matched. The timelines conflicted. Public statements didn't line up with private conversations. And every time new evidence dropped, the explanations shifted again. That's why so many people stopped giving anyone involved the benefit of the doubt. It stopped looking like confusion. It started looking deliberate, and that realization changed everything. In the end, Kingsman came out on top. His Twitch channel surged past 20,000 subscribers. His community grew fast, and people who had never even heard his name before showed up just to give respect for how he handled the situation. Instead of getting buried by the controversy, he gained momentum. Instead of losing credibility, he built trust. That's rare online. Once your name gets dragged through drama, most people never fully recover. Meanwhile, Cece's situation went in the opposite direction. Sponsors walked away. Community notes followed her everywhere. She became a real-time example of what happens when someone tries to play both sides. Presenting as the victim publicly, while staying sharp and confrontational in private, eventually catches up. That disconnect is what really ended it. Not the clips, not the tournament argument, not even the Discord leaks by themselves. It was the gap between her public apologies and her private behavior that sealed the outcome. She believed a few apology posts could reset everything while the same patterns continued behind the scenes. Once that contrast was exposed, even the people who wanted to defend her had to pause. Things just weren't lining up anymore. At that point, there was nothing left to spin. The story spoke for itself. And let's be honest about what this was really about. It was never just a Black Widow pick or a team comp disagreement. Every competitive team argues. That's part of the grind. This situation went deeper. It was about how someone treated another person, how far they were willing to go to damage his reputation, and how fast they shifted into victim mode once the truth surfaced. That's what stuck with people. It stopped being about gaming and became about character. When the mask slipped, everyone saw who was standing firm and who was performing. Cece's career probably isn't over forever. Internet careers rarely end clean, but bouncing back from this won't happen with vague statements or emotional framing alone. It will take real accountability, consistent actions, and time. Even then, some of the damage may never fully fade. Once trust is broken online, rebuilding it is like climbing uphill in a storm. Possible, but never easy. At this point, this feels like a full reset moment. The real question is whether she's ready to face what happened instead of trying to outrun it. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know how you see this situation now. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the Beyond Fame channel, share this breakdown, and I'll see you on the next one.